Yeah. I think I'm gonna sign out of this. I don't know. That was me or not. Well, this isn't really working. I don't know. Let me, I'm gonna click this in here.
Okay. I will call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for April 18th, 2024. It is 10:02 in the morning. And Commissioner Johnston, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item C is our calendar session. Anything to add to calendar? No? Okay. Item D is public comment. This time period is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, a quasi judicial land use matter, or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. I don't believe we received any written comment, but if you are in the audience for public comment, or if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to item E, which is, we have two items. The first is a presentation by Russell Mark from Juliet's House, but really it's for consideration of approval in the matter of Resolution 24-04-18-1, recognizing April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Welcome, Russell. Appreciate you coming to the board meeting today.
Thank you, Commissioners. We certainly appreciate it. For the record, my name is Russell Mark. I'm the President and CEO of Juliet's House, our county's Child Abuse Intervention Center. April is always considered the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. It began back in 1984. In 2003, it became a national event. And since then, Juliet's House every year, working with our various community partners, has tried to bring awareness and encouragement of our entire community to be involved in preventing child abuse and understanding the realities of what we're dealing with in this county, and the fact that each and every one of us takes a responsibility or should take a responsibility in preventing child abuse and helping children and families to heal. This past year, Juliet's House, through our in-school programs, Safe Kids, Safer, Smarter Kids, Safe Teens, we educated over 5,000 students and adults in a prevention education, which is a milestone for us. This month in April, I'm sure you've seen the yard signs up and installations of pinwheels. The pinwheel is the symbol for National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And each one of those pinwheels that we've installed represents 10 children. So of the 5,000, each one represents 10 children that we've educated this last year. You may have been aware on April 6th, we had our Wheels and Pinwheels motorcycle rally that went all through the county, again, building awareness and just excitement about what we can do to save children's lives and improve the lives of families. There are a number of businesses that are supporting us this year in these endeavors. You can find that list on our website. Also, at the end of this month is our big annual Celebrate the Children Festival and auction, which I'm happy to say we've actually sold out this year. And Commissioner Johnston is actually contributing more flower baskets this year. So we're grateful for that. And also that Damian Lillard Toyota donated a 2024 Camry for us to auction off.
Yeah, nice.
It's not too late to get raffle tickets. They're only $50, so go online and you can do that. But we're very grateful for the support that the commission has provided us. And a quick update, we are very, very close to finalizing our building, which will house our therapy program, trauma recovery services. We're hoping to have a ribbon cutting in early June to do that. So again, thank you for the support that the county has provided on that initiative.
Thank you, Russell.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Russell.
it.
Appreciate it.
So commissioners, I would love to read the resolution so we can recognize this month. In the matter of a resolution recognizing April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. This is Resolution 24-04-18-1. Whereas child abuse is one of our nation's most serious public health problems, with scientific studies documenting the link between the abuse of children and a wide range of medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral disorders. And whereas it is estimated that 1 in 4 children will suffer significant abuse before the age of 18. And in 2022, 170,853 contacts were made to the Oregon Child Abuse Hotline. A total of 46,136 received reports were assigned for CPS assessment. Of all completed CPS assessments, 7,455 were founded for abuse and involved 10,711 victims. And whereas the physical, emotional, mental, and fiscal impact of abuse falls on children of all ages and abilities. who come from all economic, racial, and social backgrounds. And these crimes affect many more family members, friends, neighbors, and community. And whereas effective child abuse prevention efforts succeed because of partnerships created among state and local government agencies, schools, faith communities, civic and community organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, while recognizing that feeling connected to community can be a protective factor against child abuse. And whereas Yamhill County is dedicated to stopping child abuse and supporting survivors and their non-offending families while working to prevent it. Whereas each of us has a role to play in stopping the problem of child abuse as part of solution by learning how to prevent, recognize, and report child abuse and supporting prevention, education, and empowerment programs for children and youth. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the citizens of Yamhill County, hereby recognizes the month of April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, and we reaffirm Yamhill County's commitment to creating a safer, healthier, more thriving community for our children and taking steps to help prevent child abuse through awareness efforts, prevention promotion, and training on responding responsibly. We encourage all Yamhill County citizens to wear blue each Friday in April as a public statement in support of child abuse prevention. We encourage community members to join in awareness and support throughout Yamhill County. Further, we call upon all citizens to invest in the lives of children by learning what they can do to help stop child abuse through Juliet's House, a community resource, and by visiting www.julietshouse.org. Declared this the 18th day of April of 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. And thank you, Russell, for coming on somewhat short notice. I really appreciate that.
Thank you all very,
Be
very
here.
much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, our second presentation today is from Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. Welcome, Chief Ulven and Chief Smith.
Chief Smith.
Yes.
Morning.
And hopefully, one of our administrative assistants sent over the presentation back on April 9th. So if not, we'll go.
Let
from
me look.
there. So, well, thank you, Chair Burschauer and Commissioners. We are honored to be in your presence and appreciate your time today. We apologize, Chief Weiss's schedule is crazy right now, but we really wanted to see you prior to the May election. So in the absence of the presentation, we'll just start reviewing for you all of our items. And with that, we'll probably kick off with Chief Smith and our major emergency operations.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank
Good
you
morning.
for having us. So there are times when capacity of any organization is challenged, and we certainly have some challenges for us as an organization, as a fire district in January with the weather event. But even before that, we had two other challenges that we were met with. One was we had a mold issue that we discovered at one of our Newburgh stations, the downtown station 20. That was right around Christmas time. It was discovered, and we made a decision to move everybody out of that station so that we could have the station tested professionally and mitigated. And so we moved everybody out, and it was a challenge logistically to get everybody out of the station. And we moved most of the personnel and the apparatus and the equipment over to the Springbrook Station 21. But we also reached out to our community partners, including Dundee, and we moved a medic unit to the Dundee Fire Station. So a thank you to City of Dundee and Dundee Fire Department and Chief Hamilton for hosting us and allowing us to move into that station for a few weeks as we were doing this work. So appreciate their support. While we were dealing with that, at the same time, we had one of our longtime lieutenants that was shot and killed at an off-duty incident that happened on January 2nd. Their family requested a full fire service memorial, and we were honored to provide that memorial service. That happened on the 15th of January. So at this point now, we've stood up not one, but two IMTs, incident management teams. These are teams that are stood up to help manage large scale or complex incidents. So we stood up one for the mold issue and also one for the fire service memorial. About that time, we all experienced a very large scale extreme weather event, and that challenged us again significantly, as we're all challenged by that type of weather event. So we stood up our third IMT. We have 4 IMTs, and so we had 3 of the 4 teams active managing these incidents at the same time. And so the challenge there was whenever we have a large weather event, we get a peak in call volume for a variety of reasons, largely because we have people who typically would use non-emergent ways of getting to a clinic or a doctor's appointment or the ER. They don't have those, and they're still sick. They still need services, and so they call 911, and that's appropriate. But also we had what you might imagine. We had trees falling into houses. We had power outages. We had motor vehicle collisions. We had people who were just stuck and needed help. And so we had a major spike in call volume in those 6 days between the 13th of January and the 18th of January, tripling call volume on one day. We ran over 2,300 calls in those 6 days. And that's a major increase. So we decided to go into what's called major operations mode. And that mode allows us to do some different things in how we respond to calls. Typically, a call comes in, we take it. We realize that call volume fluctuates from here to here. We can manage that through routine protocol or reaching out to our local partners or mutual aid agreements. But when it gets to this type of call volume, major operations mode allows us to do different things. For example, we send a liaison to our dispatch center, and that person was working with dispatch center to triage calls. So as they came in, they would prioritize calls for life-threatening emergencies. This call can wait, that call can wait, this call cannot wait. And that was going on for several days. And that really helped us prioritize the life-threatening calls that were coming in and then still manage the other calls. We stood up what's called an FOC, or a Fire Operations Center, and we invited community partners into that, like our city and county emergency managers were part of that. So we're local utility purveyors, we're part of that as well, and work together to find ways to manage the increased call volume.
And
Look at this. Yeah.
There it is. I think if you go to slide 5,
Yeah.
we'll be caught up.
And you'll see the a graphic of the call volume that we're talking about related to the winter storm.
There you go.
Chief, how long was Station 20 out or,
It's
evacuated?
about 3.5 weeks.
Okay, okay.
So, and we were pleased that we were able to not have any compromised response times.
Yeah.
There were really a lot of remodels done to that station
Mhm.
prior to us providing service to the city. So at, including, there's about 6 different roof pitches in that building, and it was funneling water to the interior. So that station is moved up to the top of
Yeah.
our priority list as far as remodeling, because it's an essential facility, obviously, for us and responding to Newburgh. So we're going to fix all those issues with that building.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. So as you can see, the call volume with the graphic there was substantial. And fire alarms, public assist service calls, and medical calls continue, like I said. Still need 911. We're still available to them, but they can't get out the way they typically do, so they call us. And that did challenge us. The good news is, while we were really tested with this with these 3 IMT activations, we have been working for a couple of years on improving our ability to respond more effectively to large scale incidents. through training and exercises. We've been making this a real focus since Chehalem Mountain Fire, where we were fortunate we didn't have any injuries or property losses. It did identify some areas where we can improve upon on large scale incidents. We've been working on that. So a real test of our system. And since January, we've been doing after action reviews, and we found some things we did really, really well, and we found some things that we can still improve upon. So we're going to keep working on ways to improve our response on large scale incidents. So, okay, next slide, please. What we have here is a snapshot of the call volume that we had in Yamhill County. And as you can see, TBF&R responded to 4,608 calls in Yamhill County in 2023. This graphic just kind of breaks it out, shows you where the call volume is happening. So in the areas that are darker red are where the higher call volume is. And those are typically, if you know the area, I'm sure you do, those are care homes, those are rehab facilities, those are highly populated or high density apartment complexes. And so we consequently run more calls there. And so those are the areas that have the greatest service needs. So we ran those calls, and also just pointing out that about 80% of our call volume is medical, as you might expect. But as a full service agency, we provide not just fire and EMS, we also provide hazardous materials, response and mitigation, trench rescue, a high angle rescue if needed. We have a water rescue team, as you may know. We have one station of that team located at the Springbrook station in Newburgh. Other half of that team is located in Willamette station in West Lynn. We provide prevention and education and inspection, and that's part of what we do when we're talking about providing a full service to the communities. We have all of that. So that's a good breakdown of our call volume for 2023. Overall, though, we saw a 1.4% decrease in call volume over the year prior. Typically, we see call volume inch up year after year, but 2023, we saw a smaller decrease in call volume. And we'll see where that goes for this year. Next slide, please. Okay, EMS update.
Chief, real quick, was that just in Newburgh or was that across the
It's
board?
across the district.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
A small decrease in call volume across the district for 2023, 1.4% decrease in call volume.
Okay.
One theory we have about that is, you might remember us explaining that during COVID, we saw a dip in calls because people were less active. They were in their homes. They were really hesitant to call 911 and see us in our Tyvek suits. And so then we had a surge the following, once everything opened back up again in calls. And then we kind of feel like it started to normalize. People had delayed care. We had a lot of acute medical conditions that drove up that call once people were more active, and then a little bit of a leveling off. We've also been trying to employ some risk reduction measures, and we hope to do more in the future where we have calls that might be preventable, or we might have high utilizers that call 911 often because they have underlying health issues or substance use disorder or other things, where we can, and he'll be chatting more about this, but we can proactively engage with them so that they're not calling 911 as their only means. They're getting better care, and it also decreases the strain on the emergency system. I kind of stole some of his points.
That's
so
okay.
Sorry.
Hit it again. That's all good. So on the EMS update, thank you for that. This is only Newburgh, only the Yamhill County areas that we serve. We're looking at these numbers. EMS update, we provided 2,413 transports to hospitals and 907 interfacility trips in Yamhill County in 2023. So 2,413 transports, 907 transfers. And you have maybe heard in the news recently about challenges to the EMS system statewide, Multnomah County especially. We're experiencing that. That's partly because of a shortage of paramedics for a variety of reasons. So we were challenged by that as well. I don't think to a lesser extent, but we have those challenges as well. But meanwhile, the call volume continues to go up around EMS calls. And in the legislative short session, passed House Bill 4081, EMS modernization. And of all the bills that we were tracking in the legislature during the short session, House Bill 4081 is the only one that we chose to endorse. Working with our EMS chief and that division and working with the executive staff and Chief Alvin and Governmental Affairs, we chose to get behind that legislation because we feel that it really will improve EMS statewide. It does a few things. It creates regions for EMS service, creates a state level oversight of EMS, which is indeed needed in our opinion. It also provides for some support for training if needed and things like that. So we got behind that bill and it was successful. It's phase 1 of 2 phases. So we'll likely see phase 2 of that bill in next year's long session. Okay, so Chief Owen was talking about the challenges that we have around what we call high utilizers. So to give you some numbers on that, in 2023, we had 99 patients that called 911 10 times or more. And that totaled 1,508 calls, 841 hours of care, and countless hours of follow-up and staff time after that. So we've always had high utilizers. They are people who need services. They call, we come, that's okay. But as we've gotten more high utilizers, it begins to challenge us to manage what we call response reliability. How often are our heavy assets available to respond when a call comes in? And these high utilizers are making it more challenging for us to maintain service levels at an appropriate way. So we've become innovative and looking for ways to provide them a higher level of service while making it easier for heavy assets to manage call volume. And one thing that we've come up with, and it's currently a pilot program that just started, is called APCP, Advanced Practitioner Community Paramedic. Advanced Practitioner Community Paramedic. APCP are single unit resources on day shift, and they respond throughout the district. And these are our best paramedics that we have, some of our best paramedics that we have. And their mission is to be proactive with these high utilizers from a follow-up perspective and a relationship perspective. And they're out in the field meeting with these individuals and these patients and keeping them from calling 911, keeping them out of the ERs that are also challenged by increased call volume, and allowing our heavy assets and our other medics and rescues to be in service more often for the more acute calls that come in. And so we're just trying it out, but it's off to a good start so far. We're very hopeful this will help improve the system for us and for the entire region as we develop this program further. So.
Chief, are these individuals, do they tend to be elderly, or are we talking about folks that are suffering from addiction and mental health issues? I mean, what on the scale?
There really is a range
Okay.
of that I've seen in my career of people that are what we call high utilizers. Some of them are having mental health challenges, and that's part of what's going on. Some of it is economic issues. They've come to rely on the hospitals as their primary care of EMS or medical attention, and to access that they call 911. So you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I mean, we've had instances where we have chronic health issues and substance use disorder. We had a patient in Tigard as an example who called 911 hundreds of times in 1 year. And so they really need more help. And those wraparound services that you hear about as we're trying to address systemic homelessness issues, that's the same for us as we see with EMS. And by proactively engaging with those folks, getting them connected with mental health services and social services, that not only improves our response reliability, it helps them get better care, but it also helps the emergency departments who are still very, very strained.
Right.
You know, so we're hopeful, and I'll mention this in the future, but with our local option levy if that passes, we hope to really bolster those proactive community risk reduction and EMS care for those individuals.
Okay.
One last thing before I pass it to you is just these APCP paramedics that are on these single units. They're also available to respond to critical calls. Again, there are some of our best paramedics. So when a cardiac arrest or a stroke or a trauma call comes in, they'll add themselves to that call and be an additional resource to the heavy assets, the firefighters, and the transport units that are on scene. So they are doing dual role in that in that ability. The goal for the whole program, though, as stated, is to improve the system, not just for us, but for the region.
Chief, real quick, in the West Valley, they'd been using this sort of on a small scale with a paramedic going out to a lot of the high utilizers. Are you seeing any initial numbers that are showing that you're taking some of the pressure off at dispatch and at your level because you've got them at that point?
I've not seen numbers yet. It's still
Yeah.
early, but I spent 25 years on a fire engine. I know this is helpful.
Right.
I know this is going to work if we can do it as planned. If we're just getting started. There are other similar programs that are happening around the state. I do think this is part of the future of EMS in Oregon if we're going to really get to a point where we can start relieving, taking some pressure off of the systems, including the ERs.
And the other question is, with the new nursing staffing ratios, are you seeing some bottlenecks at the EDs and how is that impacting your transports?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
I can't speak to what's going on right now, but since COVID, there have been bottlenecks. So you have staffing shortages. There was a big exodus of nurses during COVID. I had dinner last night with someone that works at Salem Hospital in the ED, and they still have beds in hallways and
Yeah.
everywhere else. And so I think it's going to take some time for there to be relief. And I'm hoping as my daughter graduates May 5th as a nursing student and starts working, that all these people that have decided they feel called to serve, and we start to recoup both nurses, paramedics, physicians, we'll see an improvement. But I can't speak to the shortage, but I can say that the hospital system is still very strained.
Very much so. Yeah, thanks.
Any questions for me before I hand it over to Chief Olben?
No, thank you.
Just,
so much.
is the goal of that program to have maybe one high-level paramedic responding versus the entire sort of brigade of folks coming to those calls?
No, the typical, yeah.
Well, it is
Uh,
somewhat like
yeah.
by having those proactive engagement, then it's reducing the number of times that we have to send a heavy asset.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're still required to do that at some level. Yeah.
Yes, and the dispatch matrix hasn't changed.
Yeah.
They're out in a proactive way. In fact, they'll add themselves to other medical calls as they come in if they can do that. If it's appropriate, they'll add themselves. So we have additional resources in the community. Again, of some of our better paramedics, and it's nice to have them on those critical calls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are also watching Clackamas County, American Medical Response. The provider there is testing a nurse triage pilot so that they have a nurse at the 911 center, and they're trying to see if there's an ability to help people and versus sending a heavy asset. So we'll be keen to see whether or not that has, bears fruit as far as getting people attention without having to do a 911 response and a trip to the hospital. So
Yeah.
I think nationally, there's a lot of interest in trying to innovate because this isn't unique to our area.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, super.
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
slide, please. So for some of you have participated in our community academy, and so you have familiarity with our training center. And you can appreciate having been in the bathrooms or the locker room. It's been decades since we have updated that
Have you
facility.
done that?
It's a phenomenal property.
You got to get him in.
Oh,
Yeah, in the fall.
To go.
You're on our list. I think that we were stalking you for our last.
He'll love
one.
it. He will
Yes.
absolutely love, especially driving the fire truck.
Yes.
And I want to repel.
Oh, we won't be able to, we won't be able to
Special
repel
class.
with you that time, but we'll see how you do. Yes.
And jump down.
So we are having one in the fall, so we have a spot for you in that, but we are really excited because of the bond that was approved in 2021 that we will be able to upgrade this facility. We also, as you heard last year, have a significant amount of our workforce who are eligible to retire. So we are needing to backfill those spots with recruits and paramedics. We foresee doing at least 2, if not 3 academies per year. So we really need to improve our training center for that. It's a fabulous site, but with the bond, next slide, please, we will be investing in what's called a recruit village, and our board just approved. Oops, actually, I'm sorry, apparently we go back ones. I thought we had another site, but we will improve and have a recruit village, including an indoor space with the heat provision, with the heat laws that came into effect. and can sometimes shut down all of our training based on how hot it is outside. We want an indoor space so that we never have to delay any of our training. And we also don't want anything to impede in our ability to get those recruits up to speed and ready to be out on the front line. So I think that we mentioned this to you last year, but over 60% of our workforce is eligible to retire in the next 5 years. So we need all those fresh, young, youthful, strong people to be out in the field. So we're really excited about this. We also have secured apparatus, and we will be doing, as mentioned, other updates to existing stations, including the Newburgh station. And then next slide, please. I have good news for you for once on the Newburgh Rural Station. As a bit of a recap for any of you that don't know the history, when voters chose to annex to TVF&R, one of the things that was included in our commitment was that we would have a station in the rural area of Yamhill County. Newburgh Rural Fire Protection District actually had savings toward that aim, just over $700,000. We have kept that in savings for future acquisition of land and a site. In 2021, we were very excited because we thought that we had a site on Airport Way where we could locate a fire station. The property owner there had been previously in talks with the Newburgh Fire Department prior to us serving the area under contract, saying, hey, you guys can use part of our spot. When we got into that site and did more diligence, we realized it was problematic for a number of reasons. Well water is low. You have to cross an active runway every single time you had units dispatched out of that area, and we would have to reinforce the road that units would respond on. It just became pretty cost prohibitive. Well, we have since been in talks with the property owner, and we are very close to sealing up a contract for a site very close to that. They asked us not yet to release the address, but it is very close to that site. So we know from a deployment standpoint that it's a good area. We had previously in the process and the Airport Way property secured land use approval. So we feel that it will be similarly met with approval from the county for siting a station there. So we are fast tracking this, and we expect to have an agreement established with them as early as in the next 2 weeks. And everything else looks good. We've done feasibility studies with an engineering firm. So everything from egress, access to water, the floodplain, everything, we feel really, really excited about this. So the next steps will be to meet with the county for the pre-approval process. Again, we're hopeful that that can go quickly. A little bit of a wink and an ask there that we do that as quickly as possible because we are very keen on having a site there. And we expect to have all of our pre-approval applications submitted by the fourth quarter of this year. And then we will begin construction and finally have a resource in that area to fulfill the commitment that we made when we first started or when we engaged on the annexation discussions.
Yeah,
So.
very exciting. Is the vision for that station to be similar to like Springbrook in terms of size and?
It may be a little bit smaller than Springbrook.
Okay.
Initially, we don't have a ton of calls in that area,
Mhm.
but we do have the ambulance service area that we
Okay.
need to make sure. We expect that we'll probably have a 2-person unit initially at that station,
Okay.
but we will have enough of a footprint to expand as needed in the future as that area develops.
Okay.
So we're
Sounds
very
great.
excited. We thought, oh, this will be a relief that we aren't,
I knew you were going to ask the question.
we
Carrie,
knew.
so-
We were waiting for it. We knew, but this time we were excited because we would have good news. So, this is the slide. It must have gotten flipped. So this is just we're looking at PGE has an indoor site going back to the training center, and we'll emulate that, but I've already explained all that. So next slide. And we'll wrap it up with our local option levy. This May, voters will be considering a replacement levy. You probably recall that we have had levies since 2000. That's a result of ballot measures 47 and 50 that permanently froze permanent tax rates. And so we've relied on levies to supplement our revenue. We're completely property tax dependent. We don't get system development charges or other revenue aside for transport fees when we provide trips to the hospital. So this replacement levy will be an increase. Our current levy is 45 cents per thousand. The proposed levy is 69 cents per thousand. We were able to maintain that 45-cent levy rate for 10 years, but it's just, we know that we need to add responders. So the proposed levy is not only maintaining the 92 firefighters and paramedics, as well as the personnel that support all of our frontline, that train, equip, and outfit our frontline. If this levy passes, we will not only be able to retain those responders, but add 36 more at existing stations to be able to have multiple units. So as you know from the community academy, when multiple incidents occur at the same time, we have to move assets around, and that can impact response reliability. By adding units to our system, we have units there. We have experienced a 19% increase in call volume over the last 5 years. We know that our community is growing and aging. And so we feel that if this levy passes, we'll be able to maintain the 69-cent levy rate for 10 years. And our current levy does not expire until 2025. So while we are hopeful that the levy will pass this May, we will still have another year to understand if it does not pass, why it did not pass. We're not taking anything for granted. We've been doing hundreds of community presentations over the past year. You're welcome to join us tomorrow at Station 21 for a little coffee connection that we're doing with the chamber. But we're really just trying to make sure people are equipped with information to make their decision this May. And if the levy passes, in addition to the staffing that I mentioned, we'll be able to purchase additional vehicles for wildland firefighting as we expect our wildfire risk to increase. We experienced that in 2020 as an example of how strained our regions, everybody is in the region when we have wildfires occur. We'll also be able to purchase units that transport patients to the hospital, as well as medical equipment like defibrillators, cardiac monitors, for firefighting thermal imaging, and then breathing apparatus that firefighters wear in burning buildings so they can breathe and fight fire. So we will hopefully, if the levy does pass, we'll be able to report to you next year on our progress made towards that, as well as everything else that we'll be doing just to maintain reliable and effective response. So with that, we really appreciate your time and welcome any questions you might have for us.
Thank
Will you
you.
keep us posted on the, when you are able to let us know about the Station 22?
Absolutely. Yes.
Is that what it will be called, Station 22? Okay. How are you guys doing on recruiting? I mean, you said there's a shortage of
That's a good
paramedics,
question.
but
So probably Chief Smith can attest to this. We have typically never struggled
Yeah.
to recruit people.
Yeah.
And the past 3 years has been a complete change for us. People don't want to go into public service in the same way that they used to. I feel that we're doing better than some of our partners in the region and nationally, but we are still seeing lower numbers of applicants than we have ever seen before. Early in my career, and this is my 26th year with TBF&R, we used to have to hold recruitment events where people were taking tests in the fairgrounds because we had so many applicants. So we are hopeful that that will change, but we're having to do so much more to recruit than we ever had to before. And that's similar, like Chief Smith mentioned, for our private ambulance partners. It's just, I don't know whether or not that's a cultural shift, people not wanting to do public service. I don't know if COVID was, a little bit frightening for them to see what it meant to be in emergency services and healthcare. But we're pulling out all the stops. We have a TikTok account. We're really trying to innovate and get out to events. We have connections and partnerships with community colleges. We're doing middle school events, high school events, everything that we can just to either recruit people who are ready, but also to sow seeds with those who may not even realize that the fire service could be a good career for them.
Yeah.
We host every year the Portland Metro Fire Camp in conjunction with Portland Fire for young women. That is actually fantastic. We have a couple female firefighters that were initially part of that program just to try to show more people the career and the rewarding aspects of being in public service and emergency services. So
I might add, we're still hiring really
Yes,
good people.
absolutely.
We're fortunate that we still have a high caliber of candidate
Mhm.
at the recruitment level. We're just not seeing the numbers of people interested in applying as we used to,
Yeah.
and so we worry about that a little bit, but efforts we're doing to bridge those gaps.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your
Thanks.
time.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good
Thank you all
day.
so much.
Take care.
Okay, we are now moving on to department updates, and we have our Public Works Director, Mark Lago, and Parks Director, Travis Pease, joining us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us, everybody, and taking the time to hear an update on parks. We'll start out with our Parks Advisory Board. We're about a year into our full board, 13 members. We've sustained that since the new appointments. We've had great attendance, great participation, and really this board has transitioned into being very active and engaged in the park system, which is going to be huge as we evolve and grow and adapt. Their assistance will be great getting out to the community. In that vein, the Parks Board has created a Parks Promotion Subcommittee, really focused on public outreach. Part of that program is some of the Park Board members have become a community liaison for a specific park, typically geographically located as their house or where they're primarily located. For me personally, that'll be a huge help, engaging with the community, having a point of contact, and kind of keeping us organized and not really a scattergun approach in terms of engagement for any projects that user groups or individuals might want to do at one of our parks. They are also, the Parks Board, getting ready to launch the 2024 Parks Quest in May. We continue to kind of tweak that program a little bit to try to get out to as many folks as we possibly can. So a few little changes this year to see what we get and see if we get some better participation and some different feedback. So the other thing the Parks Board is working on is updating the Park Board bylaws. The current bylaws have been in place for quite some time, so they need some subtle changes and just a little bit of tweaking. So they're working on a draft of that. And yeah, I think I'd reiterate with the board that the Parks Board is really become very active and very positive for us because we've got limited staff for parks. So being able to lean on some of those folks to do some of these things is very helpful. Parks Code update. We have worked with County Council to do some amendments and some tweaking of our parks code that governs how we operate and any rules and prohibitions we have for our parks. We now have a draft in place that we will take before the Parks Advisory Board next month, just to get any feedback they have. And then we'll come back and look at that and make any other additional changes. And then the Board of Commissioners obviously will get a chance to review and approve that.
Okay, on to Charles Minsker Park. Last year, the Public Works put a upgraded bridge there, wider and safer for pedestrians. Now even maintenance vehicles can cross the creek to get to the other side. And hopefully we're looking at possibly maybe opening that park up at a later time to people in the public. So that's coming later. Now to the main event, really, it's the Parks Master Plan. As you know, we scored the RFP proposals and design workshop was the highest proposal. The RFP that was advertised did not ask for price. So this is a qualified base selection only. So that means we need to negotiate the scope, contract, and price with design workshop first. So we've been discussing those items with design workshop, and we've come up with what we believe is a very solid scope and price. Last night, we actually brought the scope and the price to the advisory board for their input. We're now going to be taking some of that input and calling back to design workshop to clarify some answers and to actually possibly remove some tasks to lower the price. The price for developing the park master plan is $157,190. I realize we have $100,000 right now in the budget, but we feel like we have come up with a solution to try to help out with that shortfall. So in the ONC fund, where the master plan dollars are at, there was actually $77,000 for a pickup truck. We didn't need all that money, so we have another $35,000 that we can put towards the park master plan, which leaves about $22,190 left. So anything beyond that would be additional funds we might have to come and ask for if we add to the master plan. We actually have in the master plan kind of an a la carte at the back side of it, so we can add certain things if we feel are necessary. For example, if we wanted to get into capital improvement projects, fine tune the estimate, we would pay a little extra for that, but that would be at the end of the project. I wanted to give you a little reference of what it costs to design and develop a project. So let's take Deer Creek Park Road Bridge. After we did a formal RFP, just to design the bridge was $588,000. Another example would be, we're getting ready to update our transportation system plan. That's a minimum, it's going to be $250,000 on the low end, maybe even up to $350,000. So I want to give a perspective of how much it costs to design it and develop certain projects or plans. So next steps is I'll be coming back to BOC in a couple of weeks with an intent to award to design workshop. And that will start the protest period of the 7 days. And then after that, come back for a formal contract approval from the board.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Question real quick. I know we were talking at the last meeting about little pieces we could remove from that. And since you mentioned that the Parks Board seems to be very proactive in that outreach piece, which was also called out as in the scope of work, if we could maybe just say, no, we got it from here and let the parks folks do that. Is that?
We had those discussions last night, and I think that'll be part of the discussion when they go back to the design workshop. And they were checking off a few things that we were going to take on as tasks. You guys can fill in, and I don't know that you guys specifically have a number yet until you talk to the design workshop, but I'm pretty sure we're headed that direction.
Yeah, that's correct. We did talk about that last night. We'll go back to design workshop in the public outreach phase of that scope of work. We will definitely kind of fine tune and drill down on that to see what we can kind of remove from that the consultant would take care of that we could do in-house. Yeah.
And is that in an effort to sort of remove that delta of 22,000, or are we talking above and beyond?
We're hoping to use that.
Our highest point right now is the 157K, if I understand correctly.
But that's
Now,
all in, that's everything.
That's all in everything if we
Okay.
didn't change how it was written to us. But there's also add-ons towards the end to go above and beyond the 157 if there's programs that we anticipate needing desperately. I don't think we do, but they are an option at the end if we wanted to.
Because we're getting ready to go into budgets. We know the challenges we face. So when you said we might come and ask for more money, I just thought.
I just want to say they didn't really elaborate on the whole saving the money on the pickup truck. So I just want to make sure that we're all aware that we were allocated 70K for a pickup truck, and pickups truly do. I mean, they're up there, but we shopped and shopped and shopped. We did not just go out and spend the 70K. So very proud of that aspect of this to save that money. And now we have that option to use that part for the balance of this. So we have just that short little 20 to 25K-ish window, possibly after they come back from design.
Bake sale.
Big sale.
Yeah, I mean, public outreach can be pretty expensive when you're talking about direct mail and all of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something that can be.
Well,
trimmed down.
so we also have the fair coming up, but logistically, because of timing on where we're going to be at with the master plan, we don't know that the survey was going to be ready in time to be able to deploy at the fairgrounds, but that would have been a huge, in my opinion, it would have been a huge money saver if we could have had it at the fair, because there's a lot of people coming to that fair, but it's not going to quite work. Hopefully we can do some sort of probably not for the master's plan, but maybe something in conjunction with this master plan to actually just do a kind of a low-level survey still at the fair that can go in tandem with our master plan as we go out for funding for our parks.
Mhm.
That might just help.
Yeah, just to follow up on Commissioner Johnson there, the scope of work currently includes some items for pop-up events, poster boards and whatnot.
Mhm.
We already talked to them, design workshop that is, about kind of jumping to that task to get those materials. So we at least have something on hand for not only county fair, but a lot of these community events that start in June. Part of the public outreach, just in-house, not even including the Parks Master Plan, was to have some Parks Board members go out to some of these community events just with maps and just have a presence out there. So this would be something that we would take in addition to those items, just to get that out there in the community as well.
Mhm. I wonder if you could incorporate it into the map quest too, or Parks Quest.
I'm sure they've had that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not privy to the side. I'm not even sure where they're at with the Parks Quest, but I know it went way smoother this year than it did
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, I think the challenge with including any of this with Parks Quest right now is that we're still negotiating and Parks Quest is basically getting
Yeah,
ready to launch.
Ready to launch?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, item G is our work session. Nothing today. H is consent agenda. There's nothing on consent. Uh-oh. The attorney is approaching. Item I is old business. I1 is consideration of approval in the matter of approving a comprehensive plan and zoning map amendment from very low density residential VLDR 2.5 to light general industrial LI for tax lot number R 5429-01200. The applicant is Green Power Electrical Contractors, Inc., and declaring an emergency. This was continued from March 28th of 2024.
So since it's an ordinance, unless there's an objection, I'm going to go ahead and read it by title. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. In the matter of approving a comprehensive plan and zoning map amendment from very low density residential VLDR 2.5 to light general industrial LI for tax lot number R 5429-01200, applicant Green Power Electrical Contractors, Inc., and declaring an emergency. Pause. Second reading, in the matter of approving a comprehensive plan and a zoning map amendment for very low density residential, VLDR 2.5, and light general industrial LI for tax lot number R 5429-01200, applicant Green Power Electrical Contractors, Inc., and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. So we vote now. It's an emergency and it goes
Yep.
into effect right away.
Yep. So you can just do your motion discussion.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it. All right, item J is other business. J1 is consideration of adopting resolution 24-04-18-2, proclaiming April 21st through April 27th, 2024 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And we are joined today by our District Attorney Brad Berry and Deputy DA Kate Lynch and team. But the star of the show, obviously, is Canine Nacho over here. Welcome, everyone. Brad, did you want to come up and say a few words, or if you would like, I can read the resolution.
Thank you. I didn't really prepare any comments. I have each year appreciated the board's support of Victims' Rights Week. As you know, my office, we are very victim-centric, honor victims in every chance we get. We we commit substantial resources to victims and seeing that they have a meaningful opportunity to participate in the criminal justice system, and to try to do so in a way that minimizes re-victimization by being part of the system. We can't eliminate it, and we know that, but we work very hard to minimize that re-victimization. Victims' Rights Week, I should have gone back to see how far back it's happened. I know years ago with then Attorney General Hardy Myers had a significant impact on establishing the rights of victims in this state. We've got a constitutional amendment, amendments to the Oregon Constitution protecting victims' rights. So we have a long legacy in this state. And I would say with the support of state leadership and certainly with the support of county leadership here in honoring victims. So yes, Commissioner Bershauer, I would appreciate you reading the proclamation.
Sounds good. My honor. In the matter of a resolution in support of National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 21st through 27th, April 27th, 2024. This is Resolution 24-04-18-2. Whereas over 180,000 Oregonians are directly harmed by crime each year, and the physical, emotional, and financial impact of crime falls on people of all ages and abilities, who come from all economic, racial, and social backgrounds, and these crimes affect many more family members, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. And whereas victims who feel understood and supported are more likely to disclose their victimization, seek services, and participate in the justice process. And whereas providing victims with knowledge of their rights and available services further strengthens their ability to recover by restoring a sense of self-empowerment. And whereas a trauma-informed response to victims promotes healing and fosters strength in survivors. And whereas we celebrate those who provide help and support to child victims of violence and sexual abuse, stalking victims, survivors of homicide victims, victims of drunk driving crashes, and victims of domestic, dating, and sexual violence, and many other life-altering crimes, and their commitment to respect and enforce victims' rights and to address their needs. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit in ensuring that all victims of crime are afforded their rights. And whereas Yamaha County is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. And now, therefore, the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of April 21st through the 27th of 2024 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and reaffirm Yamaha County's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victims, services providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Done on this day, April 18th of 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes. Thank you. And
Thank you very
all for
much.
being
Thank you.
here. Are we going to do our picture like we
Oh,
usually do?
Of course.
One more chance to pet the puppy.
The carrier. Backpack. Okay.
All right. So we are on item J2, which is consideration to authorize the Public Works Director to purchase a new chassis mounted sprayer from North Star Industries in the amount of $112,641. Do I have a motion to approve? Any questions?
So moved. I'm going to refrain from
Any
nerding out
comments?
on it. No.
Any comments on the sprayer?
But it's like it's like a, double, it needs another component, right? Which is the.
So pickup truck we already bought.
The truck.
This is
to go on
basically
top.
slides in the back or it mounts on the back of the chassis,
Pretty cool, isn't
simplifying it.
it?
It's computerized, multi-nozzle, does a whole bunch of different stuff. This should, I think last year we contracted out our spray, our roadside spray, and now this is going to take that over with the implementation of Nick and that vegetation roadside management program that we have. So,
Thank you.
All right, did you move approval?
yes.
Yep. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Item J3 is consideration of approval of an intent to award to Sierra Santa Fe Corporation for the Yamhill County 2024 chip seal project in the amount of $917,770. And this is for what, 12 roads? About 25 miles that we're going to cover. And it looked like the other bids were significantly higher.
Yep. And this
other two.
is their second year in a row to be low bidder, I think. Fourth year in a row.
Nice. Okay. All right, I will move approval of J3. Is there further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item J4 is consideration of the submission of an application for the 2024-25 Yamhill County Assessment Function Funding Assistance or CAFA grant application in the amount of $3,384,859. And as you know, Commissioners, this grant is critical for funding our assessment and taxation department. It used to be at a level where it was funding about 35% of our budget. It's now down to about 10% in terms of what money comes back to us. And the assessment and taxation department is 85% personnel. So this is a big problem that the trend has been going down so significantly. But our county assessor, Derek Wharf, is working, he's on a work group to talk about how they stabilize the funding for A&T from the state. And so hopefully we can see some changes coming that will not only stabilize, but provide adequate funding, because this is a role that we are legally obliged to fulfill. So I will move approval of J4. Is there further discussion or questions?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. J5, consideration of a letter for Ziply Fiber in support of their application to the Oregon Broadband Capital Projects Fund. And this was discussed last week, but we had a chance to see the letter. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Any questions about the letter?
None.
No.
Thank you for bringing this forward, Mary, following up. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item K is public hearings. There's nothing today. Item L is announcements. We had the pleasure of visiting the Hampton Lumber Mill on, was that Monday? Commissioner Johnston was like a kid in a candy store with all the big, big equipment. But really just an incredible site. I think they said the original mill was opened in 1942. But they're rapidly building the new sawmill, which is just, the technology is just out of this world. It's hard to imagine the change from old to new and how they're adapting for the future. 250 employees at that site and just a wonderful partner in terms of Yamhill County's economic vitality. So that was really cool to see. And we will be back when it's done very shortly.
Not to
Multiple
mention the, at multiple times, not to mention the construction crew who will live in town, have been
Right.
living in town, supporting local businesses and really pumping up the local economy. And the community is really appreciative of having them there. And
Yeah.
that is an active construction site while they're still operating. It was really impressive to, to
Yeah.
see how they're doing things. And the fact that they're able to maintain in Oregon's, not so friendly natural resources climate, to be able to keep it going and to make those investments when it would be so much easier, like so many have, to just fold. That West Valley is so dependent on those jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first phase, 30 days, they're going to be running that first phase of that new plant while they're continuing to add on to the rest of it. So it's pretty impressive.
Okay. We had the opportunity to meet the new McMinnville Chamber President and CEO, who's actually here in the audience today, John Olson. Welcome. Thanks for coming to a meeting. But that was great to meet you and visit with some of the members of the chamber this week. I had a meeting with Provoking Hope, and we are discussing getting a few steps closer to determining what a potential detox facility will look like in the county. So they are still aggressively pushing forward with that and hoping to find options for how we get that going as fast as possible because it's desperately needed. Fair ambassador interviews were last night, and there were 4 of us on the panel of judges, and we had 7 candidates to choose from, all very, very talented young women, mostly seniors. We had some juniors who applied as well. And I think I can say their names because they were called last night. So very proud to announce that Emma Mattison from Newburgh, she's a senior from Newburgh, she was chosen. Anna Baumholtz from Dayton, senior, was chosen. Chloe Bingman from Amity, who's also a senior. And if you remember, her sister, Madison, was an ambassador a couple years ago. They all did a great job. And then Madison Greger from Yamhill Carlton, she was the junior that was chosen to round out the 4 ambassadors. So great, great group. I mean, it's just so impressive that they're there interviewing in front of, us on a Wednesday night. And all of them have more than a 4.0 GPA. I'm not even sure how that's possible, but just incredibly smart and driven young women. And so we're very blessed to have them represent the county, and they will be coming before the board at some point in the future before the fair starts. And then my last announcement is that as we recognized last week, it's Telecommunicators Week this week, technically. And I just wanted to reinforce our support for our telecommunicators. Obviously, the events of yesterday, I believe it was, where we had a swatting call in Lafayette, where I think there were over 10 different agencies responding within a matter of minutes. It just highlights the professionalism of our law enforcement community, especially our sheriff's department. And it's unfortunate and really infuriating, frankly, that stuff happens where you have people prank calling and turning the switch on in terms of having all of those folks respond and putting our law enforcement officers in danger, not to mention the individual who was the subject of the prank. It's costly, it's dangerous, but I think that the response that we did see it just underscores how wonderful our law enforcement community is and just the high level of professionalism that they display. So we appreciate them.
Agreed. Yes.
Any further announcements, commissioners?
None.
None?
No.
Okay. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Nothing today? All right. I will adjourn the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners formal session for April 18th, 2024. It is 11:15. Thank you.
Thank you.